You're still watching Prime Morning, and we have a lot for you today, actually, because it's a Friday edition, and I'm excited about this conversation. Now, we need to know our roots, or we need to trace our roots. We always talk about our roots. Now, even if you're Ghanaian, you always know that, okay, I come from this village, I come from that village, my parents hail from here, but sometimes we don't trace our roots. Then it comes to, migration, where some people have migrated and they don't even know where their roots are coming from. Now, this particular one is a good one, and it's not here in Ghana, but rather in Liberia and Barbados, where people are given the opportunity to trace their roots. Okay? So now there is a Sankofa pilgrimage to Barbados, and it's organized in Liberia. So I'm excited about it. We hear about so many pilgrimages, but finally this pilgrimage is for you to know more about your roots, and it's for Liberians. But probably you live in Ghana and you still want to be a part of it. Let's see if something can be done about it. I'm speaking with Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, please. I'm fine. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Great. It's good to have you join us on Zoom this morning. And how is Liberia and the new leadership?
Well, actually, I was in Liberia for the inauguration of the new president. However, I do live in South Africa, so I'm speaking to you from Pretoria in South Africa.
Oh, wow. That's nice. And how's South Africa, though?
It's good. It's good. Very good. Weather's a little warm, but it's very good.
Okay, great. Now, let's talk about this Sankofa pilgrimage to Barbados. What is it all about?
Well, it's precisely what it sounds like. And I know to many people, the concept of Sankofa borders on novelty. But in Liberia, I put it into context, Liberia, Barbados context. In 1865, long after the abolition, the passage of the Slave Trade Abolition Act in Barbados by the British government, the Governor General was engaged by the then president of Liberia to seek out highly competent blacks to send back to Liberia, of course, willingly. And a proclamation was sent out, and people came not only from Barbados, but from all across the Caribbean wanting to come to Liberia. They were very highly vetted, and eventually 346 Barbadians of African descent left Barbados on April 6, 1865, heading to Liberia. Part of the deal was that on arrival, each would be granted Liberian citizenship, and each family will be granted 25 acres of land, and each individual 10 acres of land. And so they went to Liberia, and about 200 of the 346 of them settled in Crozaville, which is where my forebears settled. And we decided that, look, it's time for us to now, we knew always from our ancestors, my grandmother particularly, in my case, because I'm fourth generation, that our forebears came from there. But it wasn't until my daughter encouraged me to do the research based upon agitation by some of her classmates when she was in school in Montreal at McGill University, that she decided that we must do this. And so I embarked upon it about 3 years ago while I was still living and working in Switzerland with the United Nations. And there I met the ambassador of Barbados, who was very excited about the project, about the idea. In fact, his family name, Blackman, was also on the manifest of 346 Barbadians that were sent to Liberia. So, these are things you just can't make up. And since then, it's just been one thing after another. And he enabled a meeting with me and the prime minister in Barbados. So I flew to Barbados and met with her. And we had a fantastic chat. It was at the height of the COVID season. And she was expecting a huge delegation of vaccines to be brought to the airport. So she had said she could only give me 15 minutes. But she, like I, and the others in the room were enjoying the conversation so much, it lasted 55 minutes. But before it ended and before we left, she had me promise her that I would organize a pilgrimage to bring descendants of these 346 people back to Barbados on the one hand, and the sequel to that would be to bring Barbadians, not only from Barbados, but from the global Barbadian diaspora to Liberia for
Okay.
the pilgrimage there.
All right. That's great. And currently, do we have some people who have registered already to go on this
Oh yes,
pilgrimage?
the registration has really gone through the roof. We have up until yesterday, we had about 375 people registered.
Oh, great.
Yes, we are now getting concerned that we may have to cap the number because as much as Barbados is a tourism destination, as you know, and we're going to make it a greater tourism destination as a consequence of this project, particularly for Africans. Barbados will become the new Dubai after this pilgrimage, I assure you.
Oh,
It
wow.
already is in many ways, but I think when we showcase what Barbados is and what it has and what it can be, if Africans come back home and contribute to this growth and this integration, I think it will change people's minds. And one of the things we're working on to ensure that happens is to have a direct flight from somewhere in West Africa to Barbados. It's a 7-hour flight directly from Dakar, for example, to
Okay.
Bridgetown in Barbados. But normally it takes me, for example, coming from South Africa, 24 hours to get to Barbados.
Okay.
And that's a hindrance to this integration that we are dreaming of. And that's why the Prime Minister, and in my own way, I'm trying, is working to see how we can get a direct flight between Barbados and the rest of the Caribbean and Africa straight instead of having to go to North America or Europe or somewhere else.
Right. Now, for those who are back on this pilgrimage, when they get there, what are some of the activities they are going to engage in?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, it's a heritage event.
Yeah.
So there will be events at the Barbados Museum. There will be events at the Barbados Archives. There will be interactive speaking engagements at the University of West Indies at Cave Hill. There will be a special libation and a plaque laying at the point where the ship berthed before it took off for Liberia in 1865. There will be a memorial service at the church where the Thanksgiving service was held the Sunday before they left for Barbados. And there will be visits to the Slave Museum, to the Newton Burial Grounds. I mean, Barbados is so full of historical and cultural and heritage sites that there'll be no shortage of things. But let's not get carried away because as part of it, we also have a lot of other events, tours. We have every night there will be at least two after hours. We call it Sankofa after dark
Okay.
events that will be going on. One set for
Okay,
the younger
that's the
people, one
party,
set for the
isn't
older
it?
people. And there'll be a business forum as well for
Okay.
Liberian and African business people to engage with Barbadian business people to see how we can begin the evolution of some trade relations between the two countries.
Right.
Already, our two chambers of commerce, that of Liberia and Barbados, have in discussions with finding a collaborative framework that they can, through which their members can come together and find things to do. I mean, we are big in tourism in Liberia. Also, we are big in agriculture, and these are the two big things that Barbados is also big in. So there's a lot of room for synergy.
Okay. Now, as a Ghanaian, I'm even yearning to go see Barbados, and I just want to know: is this pilgrimage limited to only people who are descendants from Barbados, or anybody who is interested can register and be a part of it?
No, anybody. It's not just for Liberians, and it's definitely not just for Africans. It's for anybody who is interested in history
Okay.
to join us in this.
Okay. Right. And so, how many days is this trip?
Well, the pilgrimage is going to last a week.
Okay.
But some people are coming in before, and some people are staying after. So it's up to you. But the activities will go from the 6th to the 12th, actually, and the 13th of May is the travel date.
And you say you're going to put a cap on the number. So how many people are we looking at taken at a time for the pilgrimage?
Well, initially we had said 700. I think we will bring it down to 500. We had a meeting with the government yesterday, and they were saying that maybe we should cap it at 350. But then again, consensus was that, you know what, let the people come, and because we have so many events that will be going on simultaneously, there wouldn't be a situation where we have people, everybody wanting to go to the same place at the same time.
Okay.
But because of this challenge that we have, we are launching a fundraising event which will be start sending out to donors, to sponsors rather, beginning on Monday.
But why did you want to reduce it to 350? What's the main reason?
Well, the main reason is that, it's a huge challenge, for the government, because the government is, mind you, they're co-sponsoring this event.
Okay.
And they have limitations, budgetary limitations. So when you think of logistics alone for transportation, for each event, we need about 12 buses minimum to move people around.
All right.
So these come at a significant cost. And so we need to have some standby arrangements where we can be able to generate some funds for this.
So it means that this trip, you pay for your ticket, is that it? And then when you get there, the country or the government will subsidize your transportation. Is that what it is?
No.
Okay.
You're paying for everything. You're paying for your hotel, you're paying for your ticket.
Okay.
On the island, when we are there, there's a registration fee
Okay.
of $110. So when we are there, this fee will help to offset some of the costs that the
Right.
government cannot cover.
Okay. That's fantastic. And so how can one register?
On our website, which is backtobarbados.com, we have a registration portal there. It's you just click on to register, click here, and that brings down a form that you can then proceed to fill, and that's it. Next week we'll put on our account details where the bank details that the fees can be paid into will be paid.
All right, great. And so for those watching, is there anything else you want to say, Ambassador, before I leave you to go? I can tell you're a bit busy now, so.
No, somehow I've lost video. I don't know how.
Oh, sorry about
Yeah, I've
that.
lost
But we
video
can
for
see
the
you,
last
though.
3 minutes.
We
You
can see
still
you.
see me. Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. As long as you and the audience can see me.
Yeah, we can see
No,
you.
I just want to perhaps highlight, some key points here.
Yes, please.
What we expect the event to do, and one is that it will reunite families and peoples of the two countries, but also people of the broader region. You probably don't know that most of the slaves that went to Barbados came from West Africa, largely Ghana, Cameroon, and Nigeria. So when I did my ancestry tracing, I found out that my great great grandparents, their ancestors came from Nigeria.
All right.
So we are equal people on the one hand. So that was a great discovery for me. But I also found out that either my great grandfather or my great grandmother or both were of Irish descent. They were brought onto the island to work for those people who were running the big plantations that these slaves, our ancestors, were working on. They were called poor whites or redlegs. So that was a discovery that my research told me. Another thing is that an outcome of this pilgrimage for me is that finally, after 159 years since our forebears left Barbados for Liberia, we can establish diplomatic relations. And that was
Yep.
one of the things that the Prime Minister was very concerned about, that since that 1864 negotiation, there had been literally no communication between the two countries since then. Well, that's going to change. And the pilgrimage is going to enable that. And I'm happy to say. Also, between Crozaville, which is the part in Liberia where the settlers were granted land, as we call them, and Bridgetown, which is where they left from, we are trying to establish a sister citizenship relationship between the two so that we can build. Cruzaville is really like a Bajan outpost in Liberia. But since the war, several civil wars that we had really didn't do us well. And so we're trying to rebuild and reestablish Cruzaville as the Bajan outpost in Liberia. And when I
Right.
say that, I mean in terms of agriculture, in terms of tourism, and other things like that. Indeed, the oldest house in Cruzaville, built by one of the settlers, is now a project is underway. It's called the Brick Cora House, which is the name of the ship that brought the settlers to Liberia. The house is there's a project now to renovate the house, to restore it, and to make it a museum and a conference center for all Liberians and all Barbadians and all Africans to come to have events. And we'll have a museum there, a library, and all these kinds of things. So these are some of the offshoots. A final one is that we'll have a rise in trade tourism, as I mentioned earlier,
Right.
educational and cultural exchanges between Barbados and not only Liberia, all West African countries.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've learned about us as West Africans, if not Africans in general, since I embarked upon this project, is that there's a common single thread that connects and unites all of us. And most of us don't know it, like you said earlier on when you began the show. So I encourage people to do their ancestry tracing, trace their roots, do DNA tests, because it's very important for us to know, as the word Sankofa implies, where we're coming from so that it can inform where we're going.
Right. But how often will this pilgrimage be happening?
Well, this is the pioneering event. Like I said, we'll have a follow-up in Liberia next year, but
Okay.
also in next year in Barbados. Now, this is very important. I'm glad you raised this point. We gathering is the equivalence of what did you have in Ghana? Year of the return.
Yes,
Should
year
have
of the
been held
return.
in
Yeah.
2020 in Barbados. But COVID put a spanner in that. The Prime Minister just announced about 6 months ago that regathering will be done in 2025 next year in Barbados. So that would be a big global event like Year of the Return that all Africans, and especially West Africans, can come back to Barbados. It will be a month-long event during the season of emancipation, just like this event is happening during the season of emancipation,
Okay.
intentional. And after that regathering in 2025, I'm sure there will be sequels, pretty much like we also have the Year of the Return sequels coming in, and there will be multiple activities. And again, that will also enable making Barbados for Africans the Dubai in terms of tourism and investment as well. You will find a lot of investment opportunities there for our business people in Africa. And I think once we get this direct flight of 7 hours from West Africa to
Barbados.
Barbados, I think it's going to change everything forever.
Fantastic. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are super grateful and very excited about this Sankofa pilgrimage. Very grateful. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Yes, I do. I want to encourage as many Ghanaians as possible, because Ghanaians, like Liberians, are Barbadians, are descendants of Barbadians who were people who were born in Barbados to parents of slaves. So they have the same connection that we have with Barbados. And I encourage as many Ghanaians as possible. I know a few have registered, but I encourage as many as possible to register to come to this event. This is going to be a life changer, not a game changer, a life changer. I think when you leave Barbados after a week, your life is never going to be the same. You will be a different person. It's like being baptized, because you finally know who you are. You finally know where your people lived and worked, and you finally know what your purpose in life is.
Right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Witherspoon. Have a fantastic day. But let me get the website again where they have to register.
It's simple. Back the number 2 Barbados. So BACK the number 2 BARBADOS.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And do have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're most welcome. And
Bye
it's
now.
all about the Sankofa pilgrimage to Barbados. You do not want to miss it. The good thing about it is that it's not limited to only Liberians or the Barbados descendants, but even if you're Ghanaian and you are interested in it, you can also go to Barbados and learn more about history and their culture. Very great initiative, and we know that it's here to stay. So if you couldn't do it now, you can probably join the next one and learn more about it. Very great. Anyway, like I said, there are more conversations coming your way. I see Nathaniel Atto in all white, and I don't know why he's in all white, because yesterday, like I said, some journalists actually went to praise Ket Okreku. Okay? Is not part of them, or not as part of the the people that embarked on the demonstration. Or he's going to Barbados, so he's very white. Anyway, it's time for sports to say.